Welcome to the bXg podcast, episode 3. A show where two beautifully bearded brothers, that's 3Bs, like 3B extreme.
The 3B extreme.
The 3B extreme.
The double header.
Just two bearded guys. Like to have a few drinks and we like to talk gaming and tech. I'm your host, Stevo. Joining me today is our co-host, B-Wait.
Yo, yo.
Back at it again with that what was it? The twirly?
The double finger twirly?
The double finger twirly.
Twirly fingers?
That could be, that for our audio only listeners, that could be misinterpreted into something totally different.
Something totally crazy.
Before you guys, B-Wait likes to give out this two finger twirly gesture.
The stilo brim, fuck.
What do you call it?
Stilo brim.
The stilo brim.
Yeah.
Okay.
Check him out. Stilo.
We can't be promoting this guy.
No, we can't.
He has enough money as it is.
He does.
All right. So today, as usual, we have some new beers to drink.
Yes.
What are you drinking, B-Wait?
I'm going to introduce the Indian Pale Ale by Mr. Sleeman himself.
The Indian Pale Ale.
Yo, I'd be a good marketer. What do you mean? This is a nice, cold, refreshing IPA. Created and crafted by the Sleeman Brewery, which was invented in 1834 by a guy named Mr. Sleeman.
There's actually a whole story about... did you ever see the commercial?
Is it part of our heritage?
It is part of our heritage. Remember those?
Those are our heritage commercials?
Those are our heritage?
I used to love those commercials.
Yeah. No, but...
we created basketball.
They yeah.
How we were
Canadians. We're Canadians, by the way.
We were the ones who imprisoned Anne Frank. Is that how... Was that us?
We'll just edit that out. No, there was a whole commercial all about the Sleeman family and how they during the Prohibition period, where they were smuggling. They were the ones smuggling in all the alcohol to Al Capone.
It's amazing.
Yeah. All right, so we just came back from recording a previous podcast, and today we got actually. So since we're doing a double header, I'm doing the double fist of the drinks. I still have I have a Jack Coke on one end, and in this corner, I've got this one is also from Sleeman, a spiced ale.
This requires some sort of opener? No.
Bro, do you even lift?
I totally don't know how to even open up beers anymore.
Taking another sip out of this, I'm trying to figure out if this is actually spicy.
No, this is definitely could just be opened. There we
It's
go.
not as spicy. Anyways, by the way, we are not endorsed by any of these products.
No,
we are just
not.
we're just two bearded guys, like I said. Two bearded guys who like to wear hats, like to have some drinks.
That's what we do.
Most of all, we like to talk about gaming.
We beard and hat.
All right, B-Wait. What a day.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of things that happened today, by the way. Did you hear about Pewdiepie?
Well, you were telling me about what had happened with Mr. Pewdiepie. And I'm not very impressed. I'm impressed by his numbers.
But you didn't even know who he was.
I didn't know who he was at all until you introduced me to him, and I had no idea he would look like that.
He's only one of
like that,
he's only one of
or
the
act like that.
Yeah. Well, you know what it is? First of all, he's seriously one of the biggest YouTube stars. I don't really follow him just because I don't like his style. He's very like he's always yelling, screaming in his videos. He's obnoxious. He's obnoxious. I just like just because I saw the headline today that so he YouTube has their YouTube Red, which is a paid version of YouTube. I think it's like $10 a month, and you get no ads. You get to save stuff, save videos offline. You get access to their music platform, but you also get YouTube's premium content. So it's like their original content that they're creating. YouTube cut the contract with them. Disney, or Maker Studios, which is a division of Disney, had something with him. They cut ties with him as well. And I'm like, well, what the hell did he do?
How did he get those contracts, though?
Well,
just for numbers?
Numbers, man. He's got The last time I checked, he's got over 53 million subscribers.
Yeah, that's quite nuts. And where did you say he was from?
Sweden.
Sweet, so he's Swedish.
Yeah. But he's just so obnoxious. I don't know. I've never got into him. Honestly, I think it's a lot. Like most of his viewers are little kids.
But that was my next question.
Because they're into that.
Are they watching him to laugh at him? Are they watching him to laugh?
They think
with
he's
him?
funny. They think he's funny.
I mean, I would have to watch more videos.
I don't even want to get.
I thought it was a little bit outrageous.
So the thing that I've, again, when I saw that, I went to go check out. So the reason they pulled these contracts was for a recent video he posted with. Apparently, he paid these two guys to hold up a sign that read "Death to all Jews" or "Death to Jews," something like that. And obviously they would, for
he was doing
their
it as
sponsor.
a joke, or he's racist.
I don't necessarily think he's racist. I think he just does it for clicks. He does it for views.
Outrageous things.
He's outrageous. That's why I don't really follow this guy. He's extremely outrageous. I don't know. But I feel like that's why a lot of people do follow him, because they like to look at that kind of stuff. But anyway, I think it was just him jokingly doing that. But I think you gotta at some point call it quits.
I figured out how to do the S here, Steve-O.
How to do the S. So, by the way, we were having a discussion earlier about but this here. Actually, no, these are trade secrets. We can't even show you this. Can't even show you this. So, Pewdiepe's doing some doodling. Just figured out how to draw.
I'm a great artist, actually. That's one of my hidden talents. If you guys ever wanted to know one of my hidden talents,
he's figured out how to draw the infamous S that everyone draws when they're in preschool.
Yeah, the doodle S. I was doodle-essing. That's one of my hidden talents.
Doodle-essing.
That and the fact that I can masturbate 7 times in a day.
Speaking of masturbation, YouTube, not YouTube, Pornhub, since it's Valentine's Day,
nice.
Spoiler alert, Pornhub is giving out free premium memberships today for Valentine's Day for all the wankers.
Oh, they did that again.
Yep. Although this is a reoccurring thing.
Yeah, we did that a couple of years ago. I mean, Pornhub did that a couple of years. Pornhub did that a couple of years ago, and I think they had about 100. It was like 150,000 joins in one day or something like that.
People forgetting to change their
it was
cancel the membership.
It was ridiculous. Yeah, that's the thing now. Spoiler alert. I don't want to tell you guys, but if you do happen to sign up for the premium service, the service ends up upgrading your account in 24 hours, I think it is, and to a full-fledged membership in which you'd have to pay the monthly fee.
Yeah, it's true.
That's where they get people.
Yeah. Also, spoiler alert: we are totally misusing the term "spoiler alert" in today's podcast.
Spoiler alert!
All right. Alert. Okay, so, anyways, just to finish off the whole thing about PewDiePie. He lost his contracts, and no one cares. Next up.
That's amazing.
Do we have any other bit of news before we dive into today's topic?
I mean, are we covering all news and every news?
No, just something that whatever interests you, whatever interests your palate.
No, I think that's about it. I mean, we're a couple of 3 weeks away from the first week of March.
Oh, that reminds me. Nintendo announced DLC
for the Zelda game.
For Zelda Breath of the Wild.
Yes. It's
supposed to be $20. And you're getting 3 treasure chests. A wearable Nintendo Switch t-shirt inside the game. So Link can wear... That's the thing. They're giving you can wear Nintendo Switch t-shirt
inside the game?
Inside the game as Link.
Oh.
Doesn't give you anything.
Sounds great.
Honestly, they're supposed to add some new stories, some more content to the original story. It's supposed to come out in waves, summer, spring, whatever. Again, I said this before, I am not a fan of DLC. Make the game, bring it out. Now, again, if you're going to put out DLC, study CD Projekt Red, because The Witcher 3 was the only thing that did paid DLC well. So if they're gonna do it, hopefully they took a page out of CD Projekt Red's book, and they're gonna make a proper paid DLC. What do you think about that?
I could handle DLC as long as it's worth it. Like I need more maps. Like that's one thing. And being in the industry and looking at how games are created, yes, like that's the way it is.
Are you poking your snake? B-Wade's drawing.
I'm not even.
He's drawing snakes.
When games come out, it's impossible. I know a lot of people think that
or cocks.
Companies hoard DLC, but that's not always the case. Yes, there might be a few extra maps that were maybe started or in a designing phase before the game was released. Yeah. Yes, that's quite possible. But
I think they knew about this ahead of time. This was something that they planned.
Yeah. Of course, but it's usually in still a development stage. Like, it's not where, okay, everything's finalized, now we're going to come up with 5 maps, and we're going to have 3 maps in our back pocket. That may be the first couple, but you have to understand that it's an ongoing process, and even, there's sometimes even levels where, you know, I've seen it before where, let's just say, the plan is to come out with 10 levels. Yeah. And unfortunately, 2 out of those 10 levels, there's a vast amount of bugs, they didn't think of certain game mechanics, things were just wrong, there's holes in the map. They might even release the game with 8 maps instead of the 10, and now they have those 2 maps to work on for a couple of weeks after launch, and then they'll release it as DLC.
Okay.
So there's things like that happen. Like I said, again, there's some times where there's an idea. Some artists will come up and it's like, oh, what if we do this? And they'll be like, yeah, that's a great idea. You know, we'll keep that for some DLC. But from a fan standpoint, and a lot of threads that I've been reading, a lot of forums, people are like, oh, well, they come out with a half-assed game and they release it all as DLC. It's not always like that. There's a lot of restraints, there's a lot of deadlines, there's a lot of things that happen, and I do like the fact that there's support after the fact that the game is launched. Yeah. Yes, of course, some of the content, you know, you'd sit there and you'd be like, well, why don't they come out with these maps for free? But a lot of these smaller companies, they need to make their money somehow, you know, and I think it also gives them the initiative to continue making these games, to continue making the DLC, to continue making the sequels. Yeah. So I'm all for DLC. Season passes, I have bought a few, and I usually get through the first 3 months, and I'm like, oh man, I'm not going to really use it the entire year. That does happen a lot. Yeah. But then you think of it at the price of 3 content packages of DLC, you pretty much paid for your season pass anyways.
So, just sticking to that notion, I mean, though most of the time when that occurs, when I feel that way, it's because DLC wasn't done properly. I mean, they just didn't do it right. I felt like I'm gonna use the Witcher as a prime example. They came out with 2 expansions within their season pass. Each expansion was 30 to 40 hours of extra gameplay. That's almost an entire game.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah. So if they do it right, I'm okay with paying it.
You're right, it can be done.
If they're I'm going to give Nintendo the benefit of the doubt, because I think that Zelda Breath of the Wild is going to be a proper game at release. And hopefully the extra DLC that they're going to give is going to be is just going to, you know, add to the content properly.
I don't like calling anybody out, and I don't really like pointing the finger, but the problem is these big producing companies. We got to remember that companies that produce and put their stamp on these games and pay for things don't always have the best interests. And another thing too is you got to remember that because these companies are so big, and yes, they're divided into divisions, but the companies at the end of the day are so big, they're making money. There's not that, oh, if we don't release a good game, if we don't release a game that fans like, oh, they're closing us down. There's nothing like that. And with these smaller companies, that's why the delivery happens to be, you know, better. They happen to come out with more content. They happen to deliver more to their fan base, because at the end of the day, if they don't come out with a successful game, if they don't profit, they're bankrupt.
Yeah.
So there's something that they have to work for. You know, you look at EA, for instance, The company actually develops and creates maybe a handful of games.
They're just the publisher.
But their names, exactly.
Yeah.
They publish all kinds. They put in, they pay. And at the end of the day, too, you got to remember there's so many of these little companies, so many things that they're publishing that there's not some president going from office to office saying, like, okay, I need things done like this. We have high quality standards. We have this, we have that. No, a lot of the time there's hard deadlines because of the money that they want to generate, and they try to rush things out the door.
Yeah, absolutely agreed. All right. I think we can get DLC out of the way. So, big topic for today is it the beginning of the end as to the console generations as we know it?
That's a very good topic. We're starting to run into this generation where it's coming into hardware upgrades rather than brand new consoles.
Yeah. So more like Xbox or PlayStation as a platform, similar to on PC with Steam and Origin and Battle.net, where, I mean, on the PC side of things, you're upgrading hardware, but over time you keep the games you pay for. So personally, I feel this is a good push. So again, just to backtrack, I think something that sparks this conversation is the launch of PS4 Pro recently and the upcoming Xbox Project Scorpio. So the idea that there's going to be new iterations of hardware that are going to really just keep their back catalog of games that you purchase.
As long as they have a plan for that. As long as they have a plan for creating this sort of stuff. My only question would be is just then you start. I just want, the one thing that I like about consoles is that for me everything seemed fair. Everybody had the same hardware. Everything was the same delivery. You can always play the same amount of games. You didn't have to worry about requirement specs. It was just, okay, this game comes out, everybody's going to be running it the same. It's going to be all running at a certain amount of frame rates. The graphics are going to be there. Like, that's where, sure, okay, you upgrade. Like right now, okay, you upgrade, you get the upscaled 4K. Doesn't make too big of a difference. But when they start getting into where you're starting to get lag, or where you have minimum requirements and you have to have a minimum console to play these games, that's where it starts getting a little bit complicated and a little bit. It starts losing me.
Okay.
I don't want. That was my big concern. A lot of people fight that the PC is better, the PC is this, the PC that. Yes, but if you really think about a gaming system where you can play every game at optimum performance, you're looking at it. People will argue this. You want to argue? Link below, comment below. But you need, I think, roughly around $2,000 to have a nice, good gaming system to keep up. I'm not talking about right now for the next 6 months. I'm talking about to have your computer for the next year or two that's going to perform and actually deliver on the most intense graphics out there.
So, I think that is a really good point. There is going to be a point where you're going to kind of blur the lines where it's going to end up happening where, just like with iOS and Android, they're both platforms, and no matter which iPhone you have or which Android model phone you have, you still buy your games from the Google Play Store or from the App Store, and you get them. They stay on your phone, your new phone, old phone, whatever. But then at a certain point, there's going to be a time where that's not going to be compatible. You are being cut off, right? And I think that adds to your point where if you're going to have these consoles at a certain point and a publisher or a developer is going to come out with a game that's not going to be compatible with a particular Xbox or a particular PlayStation, that could also potentially confuse some of the average consumer.
That's what I'm saying too.
Yeah. So I can see that point. I just feel that, like, in the way that they're pushing, or we're kind of going into the age of digital, your games now, I buy a console, I buy all these games digitally. At the end of that console's life cycle, I don't have these games. I can't. I mean, if I move on, if I sell my console, I don't have those games anymore.
Yes, I do think any kind of digital copy should definitely carry with you. I used to say, oh, well, I never really put an old game into my console. Like when I had, when I went from the Xbox to the 360, I never threw an Xbox game into my 360. When I upgraded from my 360 to my X1, I never threw in a 360 into my Xbone. But going back and having digital copies, now there are some games that
you do go back to, right?
I do appreciate when they're remastered, obviously. Like, those are the ones that I will actually try. But I have tried a handful of older games. And I do know a lot of people at work that do. Like, they'll have their library and they do want to go back and they do want to play those games. Those digital games should definitely carry with you from console to console. Yeah. Even if, like, like, some of them aren't created for widescreen. Some of them, like, you gotta play it in a little box, and
eventually that's not going to be the
case. Of course. But what I'm just saying is that even if it has the older graphics, I think it's potentially, like we were saying before, that it comes down to the gameplay. For me, it's the gameplay. Mm-hmm. So if they can make it backwards compatible and all your digital games could carry with you, a slight upgrade, I'm all for it. Like I said, like the 4K right now. If they did move to a next console, was I really down to spend another $500-$600 on a brand new console because it has 4K? Or do I take it where, it's an upgrade? And they have programs now. Like, that's one thing too I appreciate about GameSpot, about EB Games, that upgrading. Like, when you wanted to get rid of when you wanted to move to an Xbox mm-hmm. One, you can trade in your 360 for a little bit more credit, and they'll have a program. Some of your older games you want to trade in. Like, I think that helps as well. And that's what we were saying. That's what I was discussing with you earlier about the digital games. If everything does go digital, there needs to be some sort of program. The perfect example was when Grand Theft Auto came out for the One. If you had it for the 360, they offered a program where, okay, you can trade out a game with an extra $10 and you'll get the next console one. Okay,
so hold on a second. Now, are you saying the next version, or this is the same game, but a remastered version? I think those games should not be at a cost. They should just be ported over.
But then there would be no.
Or are you saying that maybe that probably does that cost developers money?
That's what I'm saying. There has to be some initiative to remake your game on a new console. Or else you say, screw it, and I'm just going to push my company to make the new game.
Is it that difficult? For
it to be ported?
For an older game to be work, I mean, come on. PC does it all the time.
All I know is if you look at something like Gears of War 4, to make the remastered edition of Gears 1, it took some time. I'm assuming there is a lot of rendering to do. There's a lot of... you have to create all the new textures. You have to create all the new character skins. Yeah, you pretty much have to... I mean, the only thing that would pretty much be there would be the engine and would be how things work. Yeah. But all of the skins, graphically, all the UI, all the front end would definitely need to be completely redone. Okay. I definitely think so. The backgrounds, the colors, the palettes, the lighting.
But I mean, as we progress forward,
it might be easier and easier and easier.
It should be. I mean, we're essentially the consoles.
At the end of the day, I wouldn't even think it's a hard thing. It's more you get that thing where it's just tedious.
It's money.
It's tedious.
It's money. It's greed.
Yeah. That's why they definitely want to, if they're going to spend this much, because you got to think, they're not just spending the money on doing that, they're spending the money on the whole entire thing. You're spending the money on the employees making it, you're spending the money on the ideas, you're spending the money on rendering, you're spending the money on delivery, you're spending the money on the new packaging, you're spending money on the disc, you're making the producing of it, the putting it on the shelves, like... Yeah.
So
there's a lot of money.
Well, here's the thing, right? If we're going to an all digital world, there's nothing to put on the shelf.
No, I don't know if that will ever completely be like
no, because I think people are still going to need
parents. Yeah. Parents want to go to the store and buy their kid a gift for Christmas,
but it's going to be a limited. I mean,
limited stock.
No, not. I don't know if it's going to be limited stock. Who knows?
Or maybe you do buy it digitally and they mail you a copy.
No, that'll never happen.
It'll just download?
That would have already happened already.
Yeah.
All I'm saying is...
Not everybody has a fucking Prime account, though, Steven.
No, but I mean, dude, anyway, we're sitting essentially on... These consoles nowadays, they're essentially little, like... They're PCs.
Computers. They are little computers,
They're built on the same architecture. How is it possible that... It doesn't take I don't think it takes that much engineering marvel to port a game, to make a game work on all graphics cards on a PC. And they're having all this trouble on console. Listen, they're taking our money. If we go to an all digital world,
I'm just scared to think of the blurred lines of really having it. There was always console versus PC. Now you're pretty much trying to just blur the line, and there's gonna be no difference. So why don't I just fucking buy a computer, grab a mouse, and play it on PC?
Well, did you hear about there's some controversy with the Xbox, or I don't know if it's both Xbox and PlayStation, but supporting mouse and keyboard? That you could do it.
They don't need that.
Or no, there was Overwatch's Blizzard, who makes Overwatch.
Yeah.
It's I guess they're putting it in the code that it won't work if they try it, because I think it was going to give people an edge.
For sure.
Yeah.
There is no question that in first-person shooters, even third-person, but mostly first-person shooters, that the point and click is unlimited times better and faster than the that's why there's the assist. A lot of people bitch about it. A lot of people, and a lot of PC fans, they bitch about it. They're like, oh well, in console you have the aiming assist. Yeah, you have the aiming assist, but it's just you have to have that there. You have to have some sort of aiming assist, bro.
Yeah.
A lot of you, like, I guess you're pro, like, you can take it off, but all I know is the average person, like, you need some sort of assist while you're moving the joystick. I love the movement better on the joystick, but the aiming, there's nothing like just a boom headshot, boom headshot.
You do get an obvious advantage. Okay, so in conclusion, I mean, we can talk about this all day, and then this is going to be something that's going to come up over and over again. I guess time's going to tell with the upcoming, when Xbox or Microsoft launches Xbox Project Scorpio. Do we know when that's launching?
I thought it was holiday 2017.
Okay. I guess we're going to let Microsoft test the waters. Microsoft and Sony, let them battle it out.
I hope the console looks cool. I hope it's smaller. I hope they learned that lesson. That I don't want to fucking.
No, I think it's gonna be bigger. I think it's gonna be the same size. I think they made.
They make consoles big at the beginning on purpose.
So they make them big on purpose, and then they give you the small version, the slim version. To be like, oh wow, this is small. And then when the next iteration comes out, they max it out back to the original size, so that you're like, oh yeah, okay, there's something in here. This is supposed to be a 4K.
Size matters.
This is supposed to be a 4K gaming console.
It is. Maybe even 8K.
Get the hell out of here, B8. It's 8K.
That's why they call it Scorpio. Don't scorpions have 8 legs?
They do.
No, do they?
Fact check it.
They're not arachnids.
I don't know how many legs they have. They have 4 on each side.
But they have the small little ones and then the huge big ones. The claws.
I guess we're going to have to check that out.
Or is that a crab?
All right, well, I think that about wraps it up for today's episode of the bXg podcast. Thank you for joining in. What do you guys think? Are you guys in for a future of digital gaming? Are consoles dead as we know them? Put it in the comments.